Before I started with Amazon, I was an entrepreneur leading a digital marketing agency. And while I wasn't necessarily looking for a change, deciding to join the Amazon team was one of the best choices I've ever made. Working here has provided me with room to grow and has allowed me to flex my entrepreneurial muscles, but this time as an intrapreneur, being responsible for innovation from the inside out. To discuss the benefits of entrepreneurship at Amazon, please welcome moderator Kimberly Hill to the stage as she speaks with employees Jamil Ghani, Christina Herman, Ronnie Mendieta, Fernanda Murphy, and Denise Quashi.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kimberly Hill, and I am really excited about this panel that we have for you today. As part of the Represent the Future Summit, we have an entrepreneurship panel where we're going to get to speak with some great leaders across the company and really dive into what is entrepreneurship, my apologies. We're going to talk about that difference. And we're going to talk about how they have drove innovations and just made really deep changes within their spaces. So again, my name is Kimberly Hill. My pronouns are she and her. I am a senior business development manager within Amazon Logistics. So if we have any Prime members out there, I think we might have a few. Your packages often come through our program, and we're really excited as well. We have a great leader who's going to be speaking about what we do in our space. So just to get to kind of tell you about our panelists, I'm going to read their names, and then we're also going to have them introduce themselves before we go into some questions. So coming with us, he's the VP of Amazon Prime. We have Jamil Ghani, who's going to be speaking with us. We also have Christina Herman. She is the Director of Underserved Populations. We have Ronnie Mendieta, a Senior Product Manager in the U.S. Hispanic Initiative, U.S. Hispanic Business. And we have Fernanda Murphy, the Senior Marketing Manager in the DSP Acquisition within Last Mile Delivery in Amazon Logistics. And we have Denise Quashi, the Startup Marketing Manager within AWS. So I kind of mentioned entrepreneurship, what's the difference, right? Well, entrepreneurship is the concept of launching and starting a business within a company. And entrepreneurship, I'm sure many of us are familiar with, is really starting from the ground up and working, creating a business from outside of a company. And so a brief example, my previous role, I led the marketing for Textures and Hues, which is a startup, a hair care storefront for textured hair. My co-founder, Rovina, and I wrote a PRFAQ where we really focused in on what it means and what it looks like for people with textured hair to shop for their hair care products. We wrote a PRFAQ, pitched that to leadership, and got a green light to build a team. And so that's entrepreneurship, right? Within a company, using your skills to really build products and services that help meet our customers. And so I am really excited to have our panelists speak with you today around what that is and what that looks like for them in their different respects. So get ready, get excited. One little tidbit, you know, you're going to probably listen to a lot of panels, and during the season, you've probably joined a lot of Zooms. And what I recommend people do is just listen for 1, 2, maybe 3 nuggets that you want to take away and implement in your everyday life. So that may be a quick quote that you hear, it may be a best practice, but just get your pen and paper ready, at least be able to write down that one thing that you can go do tomorrow. And really that's how you start to make a change, is just at least starting with one thing. So we are gonna go straight to our panelists and have them introduce themselves and really talk about what it is that they do, and kind of give a little bit of background about their journey at Amazon or to Amazon, and then we'll go from there. So first up, we have Jamil Ghani, again, the VP of Amazon Prime. Jamil, do you mind introducing yourself?
No, of course. Thanks, Kim. Well, first off, thanks to all the participants. It's amazing to be with you here today. Thanks for taking the time in your personal development and giving us the opportunity to share a little bit about what we love about Amazon and being entrepreneurs. I've been in Amazon now 3.5 years. I lead the Amazon Prime program worldwide. For those of you that aren't familiar with the program, it's the most loved membership program worldwide. We have over 150 million members. that bring together the best of shopping and entertainment, all the innovation from across Amazon brought to you in one simple membership. In that role, I have the honor and pleasure of working with talented individuals basically across the entire company that are inventing every single day for our customers, whether it's the shipping programs that Kim mentioned and getting your packages to you as quickly as possible, to Prime Video Originals, which are award-winning shows that you can watch on our streaming service, to music, to gaming, and a whole host of other benefits. We now have the Prime program in 20 countries, so I also have responsibility for the teams that work hard every day to serve our members. Like I said, I've been at the company now for 3.5 years. I've had a career at a variety of different consumer-focused companies, all passionate about serving everyday people, you know, the Disney company, Target, and others. I'm originally from Miami, Florida, son of immigrants. My mom is from Cuba. My dad is from Pakistan, so I'm QPOC. You just met him right here. And I live in Seattle with my beautiful wife, Anne, and our 2 young daughters. I have a 7-month-old upstairs right now, so hopefully she'll snooze during our conversation. But thanks for having me. And I'm he and him, just to close on that.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Jamil. Okay, next up we have Christina Herman, the Director of Underserved Populations. Christina, can you introduce yourself?
Of course. Thanks, Kim. Hi, everyone. I'm Christina Herman. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm really excited to be speaking with you today. And like Jamil said, thank you so much for attending and taking time out of your busy days to listen to us. And I really like Kim's advice at the beginning, like take a few things away. Don't try to take everything away. We're going to share a lot. We're going to throw a lot at you. But if you take a couple of nuggets away, then I think we have succeeded in our mission today. I have been at Amazon for coming up on 14 years, actually. I'll be hitting my 14-year anniversary in November. I've worn a number of hats at Amazon. I started out as a lawyer. I worked my way through the legal department supporting various businesses. And then I moved over to the business side. I became one of the people that my legal team served, actually. I was a technical advisor to the Senior Vice President for North American Consumer. And then when that role was over, I moved over to build a small team called the Underserved Populations Team. This has been an exciting adventure, and the topic of intrapreneurship is near and dear to me because it is exactly what my team does day in and day out. We are a small startup team within Amazon, and we are building products and services for customers who are experiencing poverty. And our goal is to make Amazon more accessible for all customers, including those of lower income, because we believe in the value and the convenience of Amazon and think everybody should be able to benefit from them. In my time at Amazon, we have done a lot of different things. I have innovated on the legal side. I have innovated on the business side. I hope I can bring some interesting stories to you and share some of my experiences so you can see why I've stayed at Amazon for as long as I have. I think that 14 years will not be the end. I hopefully will see another 14 years. That's all from me for now, but look forward to talking to you through this panel.
Awesome. Thank you, Christina. And I love how the years are adding up around the people who've been here. So this is exciting. Next up, we have Ronnie Mendiata, Senior Product Manager within U.S. Hispanic Business. Ronnie, can you introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Ronnie. I've been with Amazon for about 8.5 years. It's been a great journey for me since I started. I came to the US. I'm originally from Peru, born and raised in Lima, Peru. I came to the US about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, to pursue my master's degree. I went to the University of Michigan, and then Amazon hired me from Michigan. I first started as an intern in finance. Then I joined full-time as part of the Financial Development Leadership Program, and then move on to product management, where I had roles with the Prime Delivery Experience team, then Prime Video, and currently with the US Hispanic business, in which I'm in charge of, I'm responsible for customer acquisition. So basically this is a team that is trying to make Amazon the best place for Hispanic people to buy online, and I'm very proud to be part of this team. And I feel very identified with it, and yeah, that's a little bit of myself, and I'm so happy and honored to be here and excited about all the topics that we're going to share today.
Awesome. Ronnie, I'm sure you have a lot of great stories to share with us as well. Next up, we have Fernanda Murphy. And I want to correct what I said earlier. She is the Senior Manager of Marketing within DSP Acquisition within Last Mile Delivery. I have the pleasure of working with Fernanda pretty often. And so, Fernanda, can you take it from here and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for the kind words and introduction. Hi, everyone. Fernanda Murphy. I pronounce she, her. I'm originally from Brazil, but I have been in the US for quite some time. I am normally based in Brooklyn, New York. Today, I'm not in Brooklyn, but I live in Brooklyn with my husband and my 2 boys who are very active and drive me crazy in many ways, prepared me for my fast-paced job at Amazon. As Kim said, what I lead at Amazon, I've been at Amazon for close to 2 years at this point, and I joined to actually start marketing for this wonderful program in the last mile space. And what I love about it the most is that it meshes together in intrapreneurship and entrepreneurship, because what we're doing through this program is creating a network of small business owners who deliver your packages, your Prime packages to your front step. But we're enabling them to become business owners. And on our side, internally, this started as a very small startup within the last mile space. And we've been growing and scaling this, which is what my team does through marketing. And we've experienced a lot of growth. And that's the one thing, too, that I'm sure many panelists will talk about. The big thing about Amazon, you have a great idea, you try it, it works, and then the next step is to really scale it and scale it at Amazon scale and speed. So that's what I love the most about this job, is that we're doing this, and in the process, we're creating small business owners throughout North America. And I think that's all I'll say for now. I'm sure we'll get into more later.
That's awesome, and absolutely great call out with speaking around Amazon scale and speed. And I'm excited to hear from you all just how you've been able to build, knowing the pace that we move at and the scale at which we have to build up. So our next panelist, Denise, I am really excited to hear her story. And Denise, you have a unique journey to Amazon that I would love for you to share. So we have Denise Quashie. She's the startup marketing manager within AWS. Denise, can you take it from here?
Yeah, hi Kim, thanks. So my pronouns are she and her. I do have a little bit of a unique journey to AWS. So I'm on the AWS side of Amazon. I've been at AWS for 2.5 years. I'm in New York City. I actually, before working at AWS, I had a startup. It was a pet tech startup. So I started it because of my dog that I adopted, and I had a successful exit after about 5 years. So I had it acquired. I wasn't really sure what I wanted my next steps to be after running your own business for nearly 5 years. I couldn't imagine working for a large company like Amazon. But when Amazon called me with a really unique opportunity to come work on the startup team, I thought, well, I probably should take a little bit of a deeper dive into what that means. And I joined without a job description. And my role was really to come in and build programs that helped other entrepreneurs like myself grow, adapt, and launch a business and launch it on AWS. And so to me, it was really interesting because when I think back to when I started my business, I am a non-technical founder, not a developer at all. My background is all marketing. And I struggled quite a bit with trying to figure out how do I actually take an idea and build a technology startup. It took a lot of convincing developers with donuts outside of Georgia Tech to help me build it. And I really wish that AWS was in my neighborhood. I really wish that I had a loft that I could go to and learn from solution architects and learn from the technologists that I work with every day at AWS to help me launch and scale my business. And that wasn't there. And if it was there at arm's reach, I really didn't understand it because I was a non-technical founder. So to me personally, it was really important for me to be able to come into a space that was heavily focused on technology and figure out how do I take that and make it digestible for those that are non-technical founders. And so over the 2.5 years that I've been here, I've been able to create programs and initiatives that help not just technical founders, but non-technical founders as well, be able to kind of digest and understand what AWS means and building a startup on the cloud. So it's been really exciting and it's been really rewarding to be able to do that. When I think about intrapreneurship, it's something that we do every day on the startup team. We work for this large company, but we're super scrappy. We do a lot with less. And we think of different things that we can do that helps our customers every day. So when I think back to when I first started, what were some of my pain points? What were those challenges? And we really do honestly work backwards from those problems. And my team, we create programs every day that helps founders grow. So I know we'll dive into more of that a little bit later on, but yeah, super happy to be here. Happy to share my knowledge, whether it was from working at large corporations in marketing, building a startup, or working at AWS. Super happy to contribute today. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely, and thank you all for joining us. So we have startup founders, we have marketing, we have executives, we have product managers, and each person has had a different story and route to Amazon and had a different journey within Amazon. And so the question may be like, well, these all seem like different forms of entrepreneurship. And the fact is that your entrepreneurship journey can look differently. It's about really building your career, looking for how you can best serve populations and customers as well. So let's dive into talking something that was mentioned during introductions, which is scope and speed. And so Christina, I'm gonna go to you first. And at Amazon, we have these leadership principles. They guide us and they empower us to build, own, and scale. So I have a two-part question for you. One, what is your superpower? Or what leadership principles resonate most with you? And can you give us an example within your space of how you have used leadership principles to really build, own, and scale for underserved populations?
Yeah, great questions. What is my superpower? I guess it depends on what day it is in some ways, but let's say today I'm actually on vacation. I just wanted to share that with you guys. I'm on vacation, but entrepreneurship is just so important to me that I was like, I will take this time out of my vacation at a very early hour, thanks to everything that's going on with our schedules, and speak with everyone. So other than dedicating part of my vacation to speaking with everyone in this panel, I would say my superpower is currently it's advocating for the customer. We are, as I mentioned in my intro, my team is focused on customers who are experiencing poverty, and they are not a customer that Amazon was generally built to serve. And so when my team is starting to think about what products, what services, what features do we need for this customer segment, we find ourselves in a really interesting place where we are the advocate for the customer. And we're also working with teams across all of Amazon practically. I mean, if you think about the retail ecosystem at Amazon, there are so many teams and technical systems that we need to touch in order to influence what the customer experience is. And it can be super challenging when we're talking about a customer that is potentially not top of mind at all times. So what I bring to the table recently and in my current role is really that kind of influence and speaking on behalf of the customer and advocating for the customer across not only my organization, but the larger Amazon. For example, we recently had a couple of PR FAQ reviews with Amazon leadership at nearly the highest levels. And part of that presenting of the PRFAQ was to really educate the group that we were speaking to about the customer and their sort of day-to-day life and what Amazon values we can bring to them. And it's been such a fascinating experience being able to influence and advocate for this customer segment at Amazon and seeing how receptive everyone is to it. I would say the great part of having this as my superpower is I see people being very receptive to what I'm asking. I come in and I say, hey, you know, Team X, we're trying to build feature Y for this customer segment. I need some help from your team. Can you help me? And not once have I gotten a no. Instead, the answer is always, okay, tell me more. Tell me what you need from us. Tell me how we can serve this customer better. And that is just, that's so core to the Amazon experience as an Amazon employee and as an Amazon customer, that my superpower is a very enjoyable place to be also. And when we're building features and services within my team for the customer, the ability to kind of push through boundaries and advocate for the customer and on behalf of the customer has really led to us being able to deliver results. So the primary feature that we have launched is online SNAP acceptance. SNAP is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is formerly known as food stamps. We launched it in partnership with the United States Department of Agriculture last April, so April of 2019. And it was intended to be a pilot that would be in 6 or 7, maybe 8 states, I can't quite remember anymore, by the end of this year. And when COVID began, states really, they saw the need for online groceries and online food stamps to be made accessible to all of the people living in their states. So instead of being in a few states, we're now in practically the entirety of the United States. And being able to bring that service to customers, especially in a time of need like COVID, has really been impactful. And being able to influence teams to help us get there, to bring the best of their features to this customer segment as part of the online SNAP program has been essential to both us as a startup and also our growing success with this customer segment.
That's awesome. And that's amazing. First, thank you for joining us while you're on vacation.
Of course.
That is a superpower. And I'm hearing a lot of the ability to earn trust, right? Both with internal stakeholders and external customers. Also hearing intrapreneurship versus entrepreneurship, it's just about getting it done and doing what it takes in order to really deliver for your customer. There's a businesswoman that I follow, her name's Malik Teal, and she often says there's no traffic in the extra lane. And that's exactly what you're saying, is like going above and beyond for customers is really where you can help serve them. And I want to ask the same question to Denise and Fernanda. So Denise, you've had the opportunity to build a startup, or to build a startup and then also work within Amazon. And so I think you've maybe seen scale and scope in 2 different ways. Can you speak to us a little bit about how Amazon leadership principles empower us to build, own, and scale in respect to knowing that you've been able to see beyond both sides?
Sure. I think the thing that's really interesting about Amazon is something that I love quite a bit is having autonomy to just do it. If you see something is broken, if you see something's not right, if you have a really interesting idea, go do it. And that's very a different culture. That's a different culture than I have worked for other large, tech companies. And that's a very different culture that oftentimes you are asked to, roll it up to several different managers, and you have to, present a lot of topics. And while we do write narratives at Amazon, management typically is always open to those think big ideas. And so you do something one time really well, and you have data to back it up. You get a lot of autonomy and budget to do more of it. And so I think that is something that when you think about entrepreneurship, that's super important, right? Like we all are part of making a great company for our customers and solving their problems and challenges. And so For me personally, just having that ability to be able to tell my team that it's okay to think of new ideas, it's okay to try them out. And honestly, if you fail, that's okay too. So, when you think about failing and you think about creating, great failures often lead to bigger successes. And so I think that Amazon really does push that narrative quite a bit to their employees. And it gives us that ability to really try to stretch those ideas and try them out. So to me, autonomy is a big part of why I'm here, why I continue to come up with new ideas every day, and challenge my team to think through those new ideas and figure out how we can launch them.
That's awesome. And we're going to talk about failing as well and what that really has meant for each of you. So Fernanda, I'm going to ask you this question because you mentioned scale and scope. Can you talk about leadership principles and more so how they have impacted how we scale up our last mile delivery fleet of entrepreneurs and what that looks like?
Absolutely, Kim. Thank you. So I'm going to build a little bit on what Denise just said on the scale. And for me, the leadership principle, there's two that really go directly to scaling. One is invent and simplify, and the other is bias for action. I'm going to hone in on bias for action here because as Denise said, sometimes we're able to try something small, get some data, and then use that to scale. But sometimes we're not. Sometimes it's kind of, you have to trust what you know, you have to trust anecdotes, you have to put forward your best estimate of what's going to happen. And in a sea of ambiguity and without really having the data to make you feel comfortable, and make a recommendation and go and test it and learn very quickly. And then with those learnings, then you go and say, how do I scale this 10x? How do I scale this 100x? Which is Amazon scale, right? And bias for action is key for that, because if you can't keep moving in light of ambiguity or without having the full picture in front of you, or if you need to have those answers, you're not going to be able to do that. And for me, that's at the heart of entrepreneurship, right? Anyone who's starting a new business, you don't really know how things are going to go. You have your hopes and you do your due diligence and you have a plan. But it may not happen exactly like that. Or there may be, if you're really disruptive, it's never been done before. There is no benchmark for you. So how do you get comfortable and do that? So bias for action for me is super important in that sense. And then the next, I think, invent and simplify kind of builds on this. So you've tried to have something small in your hands and you know it works. How do you make it grow 10x? How do you make it grow 100x? How do you really, I think the key here is, how do you accurately identify the resources that you need to make that grow, and how do you also accurately identify what you don't need is equally important, right? So what are the must-haves, and how do you secure buy-in for those, and how do you get those resources in place, which to me really speaks to how we've been able to scale this program that creates entrepreneurship, right? We were able to really prove that this works. It's a great positive impact to communities. When we enable an individual to become a small business owner and create opportunities, not just for themselves, but for their entire communities by employing drivers in their communities. So that is a concept that works in many ways. It works for Amazon. It works, obviously, most importantly, for the small business owner and for the customers who are receiving those packages. And there's a positive community impact to the entire community, excuse me. So being able to show all of those, here's what's working, back to, I think, the point that was made earlier, show how that community is benefiting from what you're doing, really, really carries a lot of weight. So that's been one of the keys for us to be able to scale this. And more recently, we were able to scale our impact a lot more by creating a grant for underrepresented communities that don't always have access to the capital needed to start a business. We have a grant program to enable entrepreneurship in communities that might not otherwise be able to do so. So that's the kind of thing that I think that only at Amazon you're able to go in with a pretty ambiguous concept, prove it out, scale it, and then really ensure that that's impacting the right customer.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ronnie, I actually think this is a great transition for you to speak with us about what it is you and your team have done. And so my question for you was around thinking big. It's another Amazon leadership principle, and I know there's a lot we can do within your space. So what is one project that you or your team has led that was innovative and entrepreneurial?
Yeah, I think that the first one that comes to mind in terms of being scrappy, entrepreneurial, and solving problems was, you know, when I was in Prime Video. As part of, maybe I should give a little context to help understand the situation. I was part of the team in charge of X-Ray. X-Ray is a feature that tells you who's on the screen and give you actor bios, and it's a very, you know, amazing interactive feature. And this feature relies on identifying, on technology to identify who is on the screen, right? Do we have Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, and we put the information forward for the customer on the screen. And as everything in Amazon, we have to scale, and scale is important. How we go from covering 5% of streams to 100% of streams, right? You cannot rely on humans, we need computer vision. So at the moment, the solution that was available from Amazon was a product called AWS Recognition. At the moment, this product had a gap because it cannot, in terms of computer vision, it couldn't identify who's on the screen when processing videos. It could only identify faces and people on images. So at that moment, as a team, we could have said, you know what, we can't scale this right now. We need to wait for AWS to develop the technology to process video. That's on them. Let's focus on other things. However, behaving as an owners, behaving as entrepreneurs, we said, no, we need to push this forward. We need to invent and simplify for the customer. We need to think big how we do this. And in this case, you know, the kind of solution that we found at the moment was to decompose a video in images and still have AWS Recognition process these images. Even though it's a video, we transform it in images, which in turn had a challenge of, well, how many images do you take? And how, so this balance of being frugal in that, okay, I'm not going to say a zillion pictures to AWS versus being accurate in, wait, but if we don't say a zillion pictures, we might miss somebody that just appears for half a second on the screen. So then that opened another challenge, which is, all right, now we need to create the technology to tell us when is the right moment to take a picture. Anyway, I can talk, I'm really passionate about this project. I can talk about hours for it and bore some people, but back to the question, I think for me, this was an excellent example of how as entrepreneurs and owners, you have to find ways to push forward your projects and your business to continue innovating and creating new products on behalf of the customer.
That's awesome. And Ronnie, actually, I want to follow up again on one thing that you kind of called out. How has your background and your experiences in your career and in your life really helped prepare you for that initiative? Because you mentioned you're really passionate about it. So can you kind of just tell us, like, you know, how has your background, your experiences, identities, how has that shaped you being able to bring your authentic self into that project and to that role?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think I've gone through a lot of change in my life. You know, born and raised in Peru, having to learn English as a second language, not super early in my life, moving to a new country. I think for me, one of the things is, when I think about this, I think about two things. One is to have flexibility. So I think this is not my quote. I think I've heard this from Jeff Bezos, which he said, be obsessed about your objectives, but flexible on the means on how you get there. So I think my personal experience have really make me understand the value of flexibility and the value of trying things, failing fast, moving forward, adjusting, but to keep in mind what is it that you are going after. So that's the first thing. And the second thing, which is something that I'm using a lot in my current role, it's to understand diversity and understand how even within a seemingly unique demographic like the Hispanic demographic in the US, how even within this group there are so many different and so many cultures and ways of living, and understanding that is very powerful to develop a great product and to make Amazon the best place for Hispanics at Amazon. Sorry, in the US.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love how you called out being flexible, which we do a lot here, right? We pivot pretty often. So Jamil, I'm gonna come to you, and I have a question about this maybe little big day called Prime Day. So Prime Day, Amazon's first Prime Day came to life in 2015. As a way to celebrate Prime's customers on Amazon, it was our 20th birthday. We just celebrated the 6th annual Prime Day. What role has innovation and entrepreneurship and invention really played when it comes to the Prime Day journey over the last 5 years? Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, Prime Day itself was a complete invention, right? Who plans a holiday and sales event in the middle of July? Nobody does that, right? And what we thought is, what better thing to do than have a day away from the noise of any other holiday that was already on the calendar, that was all about celebrating members. And so that first Prime Day in 2015 was a great event. It exceeded all expectations. We certainly felt it went well enough to do it again the next year. But I'd be the first to admit that there were some parts of it that were bumpy, right? We got feedback on the deal quality and the breadth and depth of the deals. And so we, like everything else we do, we take those learnings and then we iterate and adapt, right? And one of the things I love most about Amazon is that we tell ourselves, and we truly believe, that every day is day one. We're just starting the journey. And so in 2015, we're like, that went pretty well, but here's the list of 50 things that we want to do better the next year. And in so 2016, we made it better with much higher deal quality. We added more countries to the set of countries that participated. We brought in more of our selling partners. And every year we added innovations like that. In recent years, we've really brought a lot more of the entertainment side of the Prime program to life, with exclusive content that launches during that time, whether it's in video or in music or in gaming. We've brought more of the kind of show of the moment with features on our site like Amazon Live, where you can watch ongoing segments about products that folks may not know and that they love to discover. This year, I'm super proud of the level of commitment from the company behind small and medium businesses, right? An unprecedented level of commitment. We're investing over $100 million in small and medium businesses to help them grow and sustain what they do in their communities, particularly at this really difficult time. And so for the first time ever, we pulled together a spend $10 before Prime Day and get $10 to spend on Prime Day, and it has exceeded all expectations. And so, like, every year we're raising the bar on the experience that we deliver to our customers. And I think that's what is at the heart of entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship at Amazon, which is, you're not going to knock it out of the park the first time you try. But we have such a commitment to serving our customers that we're going to go with what we call our minimum lovable product. We're going to get started, and we're going to learn, and then we're going to iterate, and we're going to raise the bar, and every year is going to get better. Ronnie pulled out a favorite quote of mine. I'll pull out another one from our founder, Jeff Bezos, that says, you know, our customers are wonderful because they're divinely discontent. They're always wanting more. And I, as a consumer, I'm sure all of us on this panel and all of you in the audience feel the same way. It's like what is amazing today is kind of table stakes tomorrow. And that's what keeps me energized every single day, that here at Amazon, we embrace that. We love that. We welcome that challenge. And so we can show up every day, make it day one, and invent new things that raise the bar.
Yeah, that's awesome. You dropped quite a few times in there. Raising the bar every day, really looking at what customers want and trying it, and knowing that even if the first time it may not be a huge success, but being consistent with being committed, I think that's vital. And I just want to ask you as well, just a quick follow-up, in your journey over your career, when it comes to entrepreneurship and Prime Day, how has your background and your experiences really helped shape you to lead all this innovation and entrepreneurship and invention?
Yeah, I think similar to Ronnie, I have gone on quite the twisty journey. I come from a pretty humble background, and one thing that I learned, literally at the dinner table in Miami, was a sense of humility and a sense of empathy, and a sense of service. And I have been very blessed in my life to work with colleagues and work at companies that take very seriously that commitment to customers. And Amazon is supreme in that. I've never had the opportunity to work with a more committed set of colleagues that wake up every single day with that sense of humility and that sense of empathy to say, you know, how can I make that everyday person's life a little bit better, right? At Prime, we say that, you know, Prime is all about making your life a little bit simpler, a little bit more convenient, and a little bit more fun every single day. You know, we're not gonna step change it in one day, but by delivering every day and serving every day and discovering these new needs that we can meet in a unique way, we can serve our members. And so I think the thing that's mattered most is that customer obsession, which is my favorite leadership principle, because at the beginning and at the end, nothing is more important than being obsessed about the customer. Everything else is in support of that leadership principle, in my opinion. And so those lessons from my mom and dad and the rest of the extended Cuban, Pakistani family, I think probably prepared me to come here and work with talented colleagues like my co-panelists that just want to help people.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Denise, I'm going to circle back to you. And again, you've had a great journey and able to really help impact entrepreneurs today. And we have a pretty high bar at Amazon. And so how do you define success for yourself in your role, with the people that you work with your coworkers? How do you really define success?
Yeah, since we're kind of thinking through or talking through some of our LPs, I would say probably one of my favorite LPs that I tie back to successes, Have a Backbone, is one of my favorite LPs. Not because I like to voice my opinion all the time, which I do, but I think the thing that's really fun and interesting about working at Amazon is that we challenge each other's ideas. And so, we often are in meetings that, everyone has a different opinion. Some may say that their favorite LP is like All Right a lot because they all have opinions and they're always right. But then having the backbone to be able to voice your opinion and challenge those ideas in a way that's constructive, and then in a way that at the end of the day, we are really just trying to solve problems for the customer. And so I think, to me, when I think through what we've been able to do here and think about what drives success, to me personally, is being able to kind of point to those launch programs. On my team specifically, what we do is we incubate new ideas and we test them out and we iterate on them. And there are some that I've loved that we've just decided to kill because they weren't making an impact. And so for me, success is when I'm able to kind of walk away from something that, even though I'm maybe really super passionate about it, but it's really not driving results and helping customers at the end of the day. But then I can point to where it led us to something bigger and better. To me, that's being successful, right? Being able to wake up every day and be excited about it. My sister joked the other day that I was working on a Saturday, and she says, "Gosh, to you, your job is not just a job; it's a lifestyle." And I actually kind of love that, because I do put my entrepreneurship hat on every day when I come to Amazon. And so to me, being successful just kind of encompasses all of that, I have the ability to be able to think of new ideas, incubate them, figure out a way to kind of scale them, and then being able to actually just walk away from them when they're just no longer working and think of something different. So to me, those are all the things that encompasses being successful and being happy in what I do every day for Amazon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And I think that speaks to the theme earlier, as well as like being flexible, being consistent to being committed as well. All right. Well, we have heard some great stories, learned about their experiences. And so I just have one last question for the panelists. And this is for you to answer to anyone out there who feels uncomfortable with taking risks. They have no idea where to start on their journey. They're a little bit afraid of a failure, or maybe a lot afraid of failure, but they want to become more innovative, drive innovation, and be entrepreneurial in their career. Ronnie, can you start us off? What would you say to someone who's feeling that way?
From personal experience, I would say you're not alone. There is a lot of people trying to do this. There is a lot of people that know how to do it, a lot of people that are learning how to do it. And I would reach out to these people. I would find mentors that you've seen in their experience that have done this. And I would also reach out to people, to peers that may be thinking to do the same, and just exchange ideas. Go for these days, maybe not a coffee chat, but a Zoom coffee chat or a Chime coffee chat, I guess. And just don't take this on your own. Asking for help and it goes a long way. Has gone a long way in my experience.
Awesome. And Denise, what would you say to someone uncomfortable with taking risks, but they really want to drive innovation and invention?
Yeah, I would say, I think, Ronnie, you touched on this earlier about failing fast. It's okay to try things. I mentioned this a little bit, but I'll dive a little bit into it deeper, is that stories of success are incomplete without stories of failure. And so if you're unable to actually just start, you're never really going to know where it's going to take you or lead you. So don't forget your superpowers. We all have them. Lean into them heavily and take a chance. I think that we all have especially for those that have an idea to want to create a business. Now that we're all kind of home and quarantined, this is the time, other than any other time, to kind of try that. And so just always remember your superpowers, and it takes one step to start.
Yeah, thank you. And Fernanda, what would you say to someone who's feeling uncomfortable with taking risks, but they really want to drive some change?
Yeah, I'd say go for it. The risk is probably lower than you're thinking. And I say this also from experience. So for example, I spent the majority of my career in financial services and fintech, brief stint in Champagne. But when Amazon called me about this role, Fernanda, would you like to lead our marketing team in logistics? I thought, I know nothing about logistics. I don't know if I could do this job. But then what I realized is this role is all about bringing something, a new and better way of doing something to our customers, which is something I had done time and time again in my career. I brought a champagne that you drink over ice. I launched many mobile wallets, better ways to pay with your phone. And then I realized, you know what I don't know much is about logistics, but everything else I do know. So the risk was a lot lower than I thought. And that was the courage I needed to jump both feet in and go for it. So just approach the situation and really assess what is the risk. It's probably lower than you think. So go for it.
Thank you. And Christina, what would you say about someone in their shoes, uncomfortable taking risks? What would you say for them?
You know, I think Fernanda said it very well. Amazon has a concept of a one-way door, and I use that to.
Okay, we're gonna jump to Jamil really quickly. Can you bring us home? Tell us, what would you say to that person uncomfortable with taking risk, but they want to drive innovation, invention, and be entrepreneurial?
I'd say three things. The first is you belong. If you're having the idea, if you're at the table, if you've been invited to participate, you belong and you have every right to jump in both feet first. The second thing is risks are not as big as you make them out to be in your head, particularly if you think about the first step. Don't think about the 10th step. Don't think about the thing that you want to be in 2 years or 5 years. Think about that one thing that you can start doing today. Focus on two-way door experiments and learnings that you can pursue so that you can get going. And the last thing I'd say is let your life be guided by possibility, not by fear. You know, commit to being a lifelong learner, ask really good questions, embrace not knowing. It is an amazing, scary, but amazing feeling, and let possibility be your guide. That's the secret to success and the secret to entrepreneurship.
Thank you. This is awesome. We've heard find mentors, find a peer. If you're kind of feeling uncomfortable with taking risks, you know, see if there's somebody vertical or horizontally to you that you can really go to and talk. As well as we heard from Denise, there are no success stories without failure stories. And so you have to take a risk. That brings us next to really just starting. But take a bet on yourself, do something outside of your comfort zone, and really go for it. And then I love what Jamil said, live your life with possibility and not with fear. Don't let that control you. And so, Christine, I don't know if you want to jump in real quick and say anything around to someone who's maybe feeling uncomfortable with risk. Anything you want to tell them?
I think just do it. I think if it's a one-way door or a two-way door, think about that. If it's irreversible, maybe it's a harder decision. But if it's reversible, if you can go and do it and try and fail, but learn something, it's worth doing it. If you can go and do it and try and succeed, even better. But the failure is part of the process, and we all learn from that. And trying something that you believe in and that you want to do will give yourself fulfillment, even if you don't actually succeed in the end. But I have a feeling that for most of us, if we put our hearts into something that we authentically believe in and we try, we'll make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. Just to add on to that, when we launched Textures and Hues, at the time I didn't think about the impact we could have in others' lives who got to work on that project with us. But really seeing other people's lives changed because of one idea, because of having some courage, or actually a lot of courage to say, hey, we can serve this population better. To see that impact it had on others who got to partner with us on that project was amazing. And so, you know, if you're feeling uncomfortable with taking that risk yourself, and like they said, if it's a one-way door, two-way door decision, think about the impact that it's going to have for others, and use that to help motivate you as well. Thank you for joining us on this panel around entrepreneurship. Appreciate your time today, and we hope that you got a few nuggets to take away and implement within your lives. Thank you.